This incident is attributed from Jhelum, a district of Punjab. It is an old region that consists mostly of mountains. There are many forts, one of which is the famous Rohtas. This fort also attracts many archaeologists. People go to this fort for entertainment. There are other small forts not far from Rohta's fort. One of them is known as Bloody Fort. Let us tell you the story of an incident that happened in this bloody fort. This is the story of 4 friends who were interested in archaeology because of their subject. Those friends used to study in a local university in Lahore. Their names were Shahid, Mahmud, Naeem, and Sajid. These friends left Lahore for Jhelum in their car. By the time they reached Jhelum city, it was already evening. They stopped there and ate and then went to Dina. Their intention was to spend the night in a hotel in Dina. When they left Jhelum for Dina, a light rain had started, which became quite heavy by the time they reached Dina. They checked into a hotel in the city and booked 2 rooms for them. They intended to go to Fort Rohtas the next day. They were tired and went to sleep. When they got up, the rain had stopped. They started their journey. They reached Rohtas fort around 11 o'clock. The whole day they wandered there and engaged in things of their interest. There they came to know about the bloody fort. They planned that they must spend a night in the bloody fort and find out its secret. They had finalized their program for the next night. The next morning they woke up late, and after finishing their usual tasks, they wandered around the city. Their intention was to go to the fort in the evening. They packed his essentials and left for the fort. The weather had started to deteriorate again, and it looked like there would be a torrential downpour. They saw the fort in the forest, which was named after the princess, now known as the Bloody Fort. The fort had been derelict for decades, and there was an endless stream of anecdotes about. People used to say that there were many terrible women live, which come out at night and drink blood near the fort. While passing by, a local youth realized their intention and warned them that, "What are you doing here? It is very dangerous to go near this fort." Naeem said that, "We have only come to do research and will return in the morning." The gate of the fort was rusty and opened with difficulty. When they entered, they felt as if the walls of the fort were listening to their breathing. Everything inside the fort was surrounded by a thick curtain of dust. The old planks creaked, and the thrilling sound of the wind shook everything. They wandered around in different rooms. The rain had intensified and the night was darker and darker. It was quite a big fort with huge rooms. They entered in a room where old books and candles were kept. Shahid lit a candle and picked up a book. Blood Bride was written on the book. He picked it up and started reading. The Blood Bride was the beautiful princess of the king of this fort. She and some of her friends were murdered on her wedding day, but the mystery of his death was never known. People used to say, "The souls of her and her friends are wandering there." They were now bloodthirsty and wanders around the fort every night, to quench their thirst. Shahid told the rest of his friends about this story, and they started to get up with fear in their hearts. Suddenly, a cold breeze blew through the fort air and the candle went out. Darkness engulfed everything, and their hearts began to pound. Then, a distant laughter was heard. She laughed like many women laughing, with a voice that quivered like a bat. Mahmud quickly took out his flashlight and looked around, but saw nothing. They started to walk faster, but the sound of laughter followed them. They were so scared that they thought, "We should get out of this fort." As they were trying to get out of the fort, a shadow appeared from behind an old door. It was the shadow of a woman, whose face was covered in blood. Her eyes were red. Her hair were loose and her long pointed teeth were sticking out of her mouth, dripping with blood. And she approached them, walking on the traces of blood on the ground. Meanwhile, some other women also came close to them. They tried to back away, but the women approached them very quickly. They were laughing loudly, and the walls of the fort were shaking at the sound of their laughter. Their hearts were beating fast and they were screaming in fear. They tried to run away again. These women caught all 4 of them. Their faces were bloodied and they slowly started to lean towards them, all 4 of them forcefully. Started shouting, but there was no one there to hear them. These women stuck their long pointed teeth into their necks and began to quench their thirst. Another secret of the fort was buried, and the story of the four became one of the lost stories that will never see the light of day. And the laughter of the bloody bride is still heard in Fort Blood, every night when the wind is cold and the forest trees bend.
Dear viewers, if you like to watch this kind of stories, do subscribe, like and share our channel. Thank you.